What's up, everybody? We're cracking the code today on Snohomish River coho, so you're going to stay tuned with us and see exactly how I like to catch them. Now, if anybody's fished the Snohomish River before for coho salmon in the fall, it is a time of sometimes great success and sometimes great frustration. These fish can be really bitey in some years, and some years it's really tough. So there's a variety of techniques that work well for these fish, and I'm going to show you guys today exactly what I like to do out of a boat or off of a bank, and how do you go about maximizing your success as an angler. You got everything from your more finesse gear techniques to your typical aggressive coho, and then you have your bait opportunities, guys. It's really simple on some years because the fish are really aggressive. In other years, they're really finicky and require a lot more grinding and presentation styles that'll allow for more finesse. We're going to talk about all of it today. Right now, we got a pink salmon return year where these fish are super aggressive. So we're going to start there at what you can do right now to catch these fish. This year's been unique in the sense that they had a bait ban on eggs pretty much through until the 1st of October. What that did was require you to think a little bit differently and target these fish on more of the aggressive move. Spinners are a perfect way to do so, right? On your typical spinning gear, 8.5 foot spinning rod, 7'6" twitching rod. It's a great way to do it. Casting spinners like these weighted inlines that we make here at Holy Moly for the fishbone spinners. Your wicked lures are a fantastic option as well to be ran with an inline weight. Here, for example, is one of the twitching rods I like to run. It's a Velocity 7'6", but it's a great little versatile rod to run all my spinners with and hardware when I'm on the boat. Okay, super easy, very effective way to do it. But you also see in front of us here, we got plugs. Now, aggressive years again, you can get away with casting plugs like Brad's Wigglers or these Yakima bait Fat Fish, or you can back troll and troll upriver plugs like these 3.5 maglips. Now, when you start talking colors, it's really a variance on water clarity. Sometimes we get the big flux of water, so you get really dirty conditions. Your bright colors like this flame red, but I'll put the color combos and everything below that you see. But you can get away with a lot of cool different color combos based on the water conditions. Same thing with spinners, right? More murkier water, I'm going to go with those bright fluorescent colors, really to get the fish's attention and draw them in. You might have to tone it down a little bit on the blade colors or body colors, depending on water clarity, but get that flash. Coho love flash, right? Wicked lures have been something in more recent years, picking a lot of popularity up locally and have been doing really, really well. So spinners are always something. I have a rod rigged up, whether I'm off the shore or I'm in my boat. Those are very successful. And same thing with the plugs. You can't forget about the plugs in the right conditions. Have done phenomenal in years past with the plugs. And I'll grab my rod here to show you, right? When I'm back trolling plugs or trolling upriver for them, I have a 10 to 20 Lamiglass, right? And that's very straightforward. 15 to 20 pound test line. Don't need anything too fancy. And just set them in the rod holder, and there you go. If you're casting them, like I said before, you can get away with doing your 8'6" spinning rods work really well, targeting those jumping fish. We're talking still aggressive, right? So because the bait ban got lifted, it provides even more opportunity for boat and bank anglers to go target. Whether you're free drifting, if you're bobber dogging, or you're a bank angler and just like to fish floats and eggs, that is a great opportunity right now to get out and do so, because you'll have the ability to really target those fish with scent and bait that will really hammer down when they start stacking up. And I think, well, all the boat guys in particular are having a lot of success because they're covering water and they're really getting those sulfite cures on top of those fish that are really aggressive and snappy, right? And it's been a very successful year once they started lifting that bait ban to go out and target to do so. Now, What I'm typically throwing on the side of side drifting or bobber dogging is just a 9-foot. This is an 1141 G Loomis, actually 9'6", and then you have everything else under the sun out there for side drifting rods. What's been more popular in recent years is going the route of bobber dogging, which is basically float drifting. You can use a nice little rolling drop swivel, some of these Dave's Tangle free stick weights, right? Make it really easy for you to target and fish all day long and not lose a bunch of gear. But the pre-tide leaders are a must out of the boat because you're going to go through a ton of them. And then your straight little simple bobber dog and floats do very, very well. If you're a bank angler, right, it doesn't matter what brand float you use. I've loved the clear drift floats. They're really successful for me. And it's more of a confidence deal, really. But the standard float setup, right, where you have, as I undo this, right, you have a bobber stop, a bead, some kind of corky, and then your float of choice, inline sinker, all the way down to your leader, which I happen to have it right there. And that is a 1/0 sickle hook, right? That is done with 40-pound test mainline braid down to a 15-pound test floating mono top shot. That's all you really need. You can target those fish in the deeper pools of the Snohomish, upwards of Thomas Eddy. You can find some other slots down river of that as well. Doug Bar is a great spot to throw eggs and bait. And then you really have successes up higher, which is more out of a boat. But the bank access off that short school road down there off Thomas Eddy, you have some opportunity for you guys there to really find those fish as they pool up, to really target them with bait as a bank angler or boat alike. And that really covers some of our aggressive fish, because typical gear like this, right, you can fish this stuff anywhere for coho. But the Snohomish River in particular, when they're aggressive, it's fun because a la carte, it works. You can really get out there, test whatever you want, and have some fun doing so. It's when it gets a little bit tougher, the water gets clearer, or maybe that there's just a ton of river pressure because it's busy and popular. You may have to start transitioning over to some more of the finesse gear, right? Your Dick Nite spoons, which I would argue is probably the #1 successful lure for coho salmon in Washington, in particular for the Snohomish River, right? And rightfully so. You can get away and catch some really big fish on just a tiny little spoon, whether it's the wee Dick Nite, the size 0, or excuse me, size 0, the size 1, or your size 2. All three of these will really work. And I would say truly the wee size and the size 1 are what's used predominantly on the Snohomish River. But don't forget the number 2. Honestly, I have seen it with my own eyes. A number 2 outfish everybody else off the shore because it's a little bit bigger, gives a little bit more flash and movement, fishes just a little bit differently. You can be extremely successful on coho, especially in the Snohomish with that one. But a lot of the time, I'm grabbing that number 1 and having a lot of fun off the bank. You boat guys can do phenomenal as well on those fish anchored up. If you're below 522, the rock wall areas or drifts above, Dick Nites work really well when you're fishing on those fish. Dick Nites provide different weight types to be throwing right on drift gear, essentially. You can throw a Dave's Tangle Free like you see there, your drifting slinkies, other variances of lead, drift weights, or your teardrop sinkers, right? The stick weights work really well as well. And essentially, you're fishing them on these rolling drop weights, set up drifting, just like anything else. The side drifting rod that I showed with the 9'6", pretty much all you need to do. So it transverses across variants of gear, dependent on the conditions that you're fishing. You too can be very successful on the Snohomish River. Now, when you're on the Snohomish, it's pretty clear and evident where a lot of the popular areas are. Just drive by your parking lots. The boat launches are going to be full this time of the year. Your bank spots are going to be full. People are getting out. They're chasing after these fish. And I'll tell you, there's a few popular areas. If you're a bank fisherman, you can look at anywhere near that Thomas Eddy Bob Herman Wildlife Park is a great spot to start. You can explore from there. If you're a boat angler, you have the freedom to travel up and down the river. The lower river seems to do a lot better because it's more tidal to fish in plugs and casting spinners. You're finding more of those fish on the move, so you're aggressively targeting those moving fish. If you're up above Thomas Eddy, you're probably fishing more bait and drifting, casting spinners on those fish that are holding up more so, and you're able to get really locked in on where those schools are at. So you can have a lot of success doing that. Now you can anchor up downriver of, let's say, 522 at the rock walls, casting dick nites, and using every one of these techniques that I've shown. Just really depends on what you have available to fish from, bank or boat, where you're able to go, right? If you have a jet sled, you can travel the whole river and go find fish. If you're limited to a drift boat, you can still have really successful days, but you just have to plan accordingly of how you're going to go out and do it. Now, something you don't see, and I haven't really shown it, is a twitching jig. These will definitely work on coho, obviously, anywhere you go. The Snohomish River in particular, I don't really throw them. There's a lot of wood and debris. You can definitely have them on your boat, and I'm not saying don't use them, but for my success, I've had better luck throwing spinners and the plugs and the bait than I have throwing twitching jigs, because typically where we're fishing this other stuff, it's in the wood. And these are wood magnets if you're not in the right area and fishing freely. So I don't really typically throw twitching jigs for Snohomish coho. I know they absolutely will work, no doubt. You just have to find the right areas. If you're a bank fisherman, I would definitely have a few in my arsenal with me, and I can alternate between dick nites, my spinners, and twitching jigs or plugs, and really have this one rod versatility, and then I can have another rod for eggs and bait, which I think truly can benefit every angler, is having a few rods with you but not overdoing it, and have the versatility of having a way to fish a few different varieties in gear because of the changing conditions and how these fish react. I want to hear from you guys. Tell me below what you think. If you're fishing the Snohomish River, what are you typically throwing and how are you being successful? If you guys want to see some recent videos of years past of being successful with these techniques, check these videos out right here. Tight lines as always, guys, and we'll catch you on the water. Fish on!